What if a child could carry the weight of a legend, and still sing with her own heart? What if a 10-year-old girl could walk onto a stage built for dreams and somehow heal wounds older than she was? On one quiet evening in Los Angeles, under the bright lights of America's Got Talent, a small figure stepped forward. She was not just another contestant. She carried a name the world would never forget. Her name was Amara Marley. Only 10 years old. Soft-spoken. Deeply observant. She had her grandfather's gentle eyes, the eyes of Bob Marley, but a heart that beat in its own rhythm. Amara was the granddaughter of a man whose music once crossed oceans, healed divisions, and whispered hope into broken souls. But she was not there to repeat history. She was there to discover who she was inside it. Beside her in the shadows stood Cedric Marley, her father. Protective. Calm. Carrying quiet pride mixed with silent fear. He knew the world could be kind. He also knew it could be cruel. For years, Amara had grown up listening to stories of her grandfather, stories of peace, struggle, and love. His records played softly in their home. His photographs watched from the walls. But Amara never saw him as a legend. To her, he was simply Grandpa. A voice in old vinyl. A spirit in the wind. That night, as the stage lights warmed her small shoulders, America expected nostalgia. They expected a famous last name. A familiar echo. But what they received was something else. Something fragile. Something pure. Something painfully real. Because this was not just a performance. It was a question sent into the world. Can healing be inherited, or must it be sung from the soul? Amara Marley did not live like a superstar's granddaughter. Her mornings were quiet. Simple. Filled with sunlight slipping through thin curtains and the soft hum of distant traffic. She woke up early, even on school days when she did not need to. She liked the silence before the world became loud. In those moments, she would sit by her window with her small notebook resting on her knees. Amara loved to write. Not long poems. Just tiny thoughts. Lines about the sky. About people she saw on the street. About feelings she didn't always understand. She was shy around strangers. The kind of child who smiled softly instead of speaking loudly. At school, she kept to a small circle of friends. She listened more than she talked. Some classmates knew who her grandfather was. Some didn't. But when they found out, their eyes changed. They expected something bigger from her. Something louder. Amara felt that weight often. Sometimes, when she sang alone in her room, she would stop halfway through a note. She would wonder. Does my voice sound like his? Is that what people want? Her father, Cedric, always reminded her that she did not need to sound like anyone else. Still, the pressure lingered. At night, when the house became still, Amara would sit near her grandfather's old guitar. She never touched it at first. She only stared at it. As if it held secrets she was not ready to unlock. She loved music deeply. But she feared comparison even more. There were days she felt proud of her name. And days she wished she could simply introduce herself as, just Amara. She wasn't chasing fame. She wasn't dreaming of applause. She only wanted one thing. To sing something that felt true. Something that belonged to her. But deep inside, she wondered if the world would ever let her be just a girl with a song, instead of a legend's shadow. The problem did not begin on a stage. It began in small, quiet moments. Moments when people didn't look at Amara, they looked through her. As if searching for someone else behind her eyes. At birthday parties, adults would kneel down and say her grandfather's name before saying hers. At school talent shows, teachers would whisper with excitement, expecting magic before she even sang a note. Every compliment felt heavy. Every expectation felt louder than applause. Amara began to notice something painful. No matter how softly she sang, people listened for echoes. They listened for Bob Marley. Not for her. One afternoon, after a small community performance, she overheard two strangers speaking. They said she was sweet. They said she had potential. But they also said she was trying to sound like him. The words followed her home. That night, she did not sing. She sat on her bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling something new inside her chest. Not anger. Not sadness alone. But confusion. Who was she without the legacy? Was she allowed to write her own melody? Or would every note always belong to the past? The deeper struggle wasn't fame. It was identity. She loved her grandfather's music. She felt proud of it. But she feared disappearing inside it. Sometimes she avoided singing in public altogether. She told her father she was tired. She said she needed a break. The truth was harder to admit. She was afraid. Afraid that no matter how honest her voice became, the world would always measure it against history. And slowly, the thing she loved most, music, began to feel like a mirror she could not escape. That was the moment her life quietly shifted. Because when a child begins to question her own voice, silence becomes the loudest struggle of all. The invitation arrived on an ordinary afternoon. A simple email. A quiet opportunity. An audition for America's Got Talent. Cedric read it twice before telling her. He did not rush. He did not push. He only placed the phone beside her and let her see it for herself. Amara's first feeling was not excitement. It was fear. A stage that large did not only bring lights. It brought expectations. It brought headlines. It brought her grandfather's name back into rooms she had never entered. For days, she said nothing. She walked past the old guitar in the living room without touching it. She avoided her notebook. The silence returned. But one night, something changed. A storm rolled across the city. Rain tapped against the windows in soft, restless rhythms. The power flickered. The house grew dim. With nothing but candlelight glowing in the corner, Amara finally picked up her grandfather's guitar. Her hands trembled. Not because of the weight of history, but because of the weight of doubt. She did not play one of his songs. She did not hum a familiar melody. Instead, she closed her eyes. And she sang about loneliness. She sang about standing in someone else's shadow. She sang about wanting to be seen. The words were not polished. The melody was not perfect. But it was hers. Cedric stood quietly in the hallway, listening. There were no comparisons in that moment. No legacy. No legend. Only a 10-year-old girl telling the truth. When the final note faded into the soft sound of rain, something inside her felt lighter. She finally understood. She did not need to escape the legacy. She only needed to step out of its shadow. The audition was no longer about proving anything. It became something else. A chance to sing her own healing. And maybe, just maybe, help someone else find theirs.